Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Quick kind of housekeeping note. Like many, I'm kind of getting over a cold, so please forgive if I inadvertently sneeze or cough before I can cover my microphone or sniff. Tis the season, right? But we're not going to let that deter us. We're going to jump right in. So, as you may have noticed, this year we've kind of shifted from giving an overview of the topic to more of a buyer's guide type of scenario for the kickoff reach for Insights Tech Showcases. This one is a pretty broad topic, online quantitative research. As we kind of put down here, after a quarter century, this is the dominant mode of data collection within the research industry, and we continue to meet new challenges and exploit new opportunities. And we're going to talk about some of those. So as we look at the types of solutions here, and you're going to see some of those with the companies that are presenting following this, there's lots of differences in terms of mode, mobile versus purely online, for example, but it's certainly not the only one. And what kind of differentiates those is the analysis and reporting are different based upon the different data types that we are accomplishing. Passive data it is quantitative data collection from scale, but yet the reporting and the way that we deal with that data can be different. So it is very unique to offline methods, which are still done in many places in the world, although online is the dominant mode. The tools can be very different. The types of capabilities can be very different. The mode, mobile versus traditional PC or tablet, that can affect things. So there's lots of different things that we need to recognize in evaluating what is the right solution for us. The level of automation, the level of customization that you want, how are we dealing with open ends, the structure and complexity of the survey. All of those things are part of the scenario that you need to think through as you're choosing a partner and or an approach for online quantitative research. Fundamentally, other than, let's say, passive data collection, when we talk about online quant, we are talking about a survey type of structure. And that certainly is changing some of the early platforms that I used when online first started. And yes, I'm dating myself. I was pre-online, but as we started experimenting, it was easier to write a questionnaire in Word. And then I wanted a platform that would allow me to import that. And back then, it was a platform called Perseus. So a big shout out to Jeffrey Henning, for instance, from that. And that is still kind of the mode, right? We want to be able to make it easy to take the process that we develop a questionnaire in, which predominantly still is some type of word processing platform, and then easily import that into the platform to make it easier to program. So that's something to think about. Today, there's many automation solutions that can help with that process or even enable sharing in the design process in the platform. We can utilize templates, for instance, that incorporate kind of best practices from a design standpoint based on the topic or the analytical approach that we want to use on the back end. There's question libraries that we can choose from. Most platforms have the ability to look at, a drop-down menu and say, I want this to be an open end, or I want this to be a select all, or whatever the case may be, a Likert scale. Even to automate in some platforms the ability to do discrete choice and conjoint. So, think about your level of expertise internally in the design process and the efficiency that you're looking for to take the questionnaire design that you have worked on and incorporate that into a finished product. As we continue on, as kind of mentioned, the question types, there's drag and drop. There's still platforms out there that allow for custom coding in things like HTML or Java or whatever the tool may be. Many of them give suggestions on pros and cons. It'll give you a drop down and say, oh, that text is a double-barreled question for an open end. Maybe we should simplify it. So again, the key takeaway here is, what are the types of solutions that you need? Some of the other components, if you're doing, let's say, an ad test, or if you're doing UX, some have capabilities to understand mouse movements or pressure if you're using mobile. Of course, there's the biometric tools and neuromarketing that can be plugged in as well. So if you want to have, let's say, an implicit test, or you're doing facial coding, think about all of those different inputs that impact the design to get to the output and the answer to the business question that you're looking for. And then, of course, the ability to test. I don't know about you, but I have tested thousands of surveys in my time. I find it a big pain in the butt to have to keep refreshing my screen and going in multiple times. I much prefer, personally, a platform that allows me to just go back and go through the different logic cues from one system, instead of having to go in like a new respondent every time. That's a personal preference. Just factor in all of those things as part of the QA process as well. And then there's the look and feel. In many cases, you can white label it, meaning it'll come up as, company ABC survey with your brand attached, or you can utilize platforms where it is the data collection platform URL. It depends on what is your objective. Do you want the sponsor of the research to be branded or blinded? Look for the ability to customize. If you have a color scheme, so let's say it is branded, and you want to utilize your company logo and the color scheme that align to your brand, all of those things can be important considerations. For languages, if you're doing international, how easy is it to incorporate translations, or to do multiple versions of the survey in multiple languages? Most platforms today have some version of AI that allow for auto translation. And then, of course, now, with AI, we also have the conversational experience. We have chatbot-based virtual interviewers, which are either that is the entire survey experience, or it's integrated in with more of a traditional survey experience for kind of a hybrid. And then there's also things like gamification. There's some very customized platforms out there where the experience of the survey itself feels more like a game. It's much more visual. The use of emojis, things like that, all of those are part of the consideration set and are well within the realm of possibility today. Then sample and recruiting. So most platforms today have an ability for an integration either through an internal connected sample source that they have, let's say a proprietary panel, or the ability to connect into a marketplace and to be able to order your sample directly from that. Test feasibility, look at costs. All of those things are important from that standpoint as you're selecting the appropriate partner for the research, and make sure that whatever your panel or sample source is, that it can be accommodated. Either you can upload a list, or you can you send a URL to the sample provider and they send it out, or it's automatically integrated within the process. All of those things are important. Of course, always encourage you to make sure that your sample source is high quality. Make sure that you're looking at things from a panel management standpoint, that high engagement, low burnout, low churn, all of those considerations are important as you're looking at your partner. But again, in most cases, that is going to be built in to the solutions to make it easier for you to increase stickiness, decrease barrier to entry, and increase overall efficiency. Even then, you still might want to customize with your own incentives. There could be particular data points that you want to look at on the back end from a tracking standpoint. So think through all those type of questions. Of course, if you're doing data collection in some U.S. states, let's say California, or in Europe, there's going to be privacy laws that you want to pay attention to as well. And there's other methods that exist, such as online intercepts, where pop-up surveys, or a survey that pops up within your website. So there's lots of different paths here. Think through what that looks like. Make sure that you're working with the partner that it can accommodate what you're trying to achieve from that perspective. So quality. This is becoming a bigger and bigger deal. So it should be table stakes that your partner should have built-in capabilities either through an internally developed solution or through external add-ons to deal with fraud detection. And there's lots of ways to achieve that. From the very beginning, within the sample that you're utilizing or within the survey, there's ways that you can look at, flagging folks internally, red herring questions, looking at speed of completion, straight lining. Excuse me. There's that cough I was afraid was going to happen. You got to pay attention to those things. Look at your dropout rates, look at your length. Most platforms have some type of quality scoring, so it'll allow you to quickly kind of zero in on suspect completes. Some will go ahead and just things that are obviously bad, we'll take those out, but make sure that you do have a mechanism to be able to pay attention to quality. Garbage in, garbage out is still the core idea that we need to keep in mind with research. And in the world of AI now, as often the results and data from surveys are feeding a larger AI system, the possibility of contamination from tainted data increases in its potential implications. So this really is critical. So make sure that you're planning for it and that you have the right tools in place with your partner or a combination of partners to be able to achieve high quality. There's other things to think about now. Automatic transcription, text responses, again, it's kind of becoming table stakes because AI has made that so easy. If you're going to do a lot of open ends, then that would be important. Even if you're just doing a few, but you have a large sample size, that can create real speed benefits for you from a coding standpoint. Do you have the ability for longitudinal research or follow-ups? That's an important consideration as well. If the survey is part of an overall project where you want to be able to maybe engage with the population afterwards for qualitative exploration, make sure that those capabilities exist, that the panel or sample source allows for that, and that you have the ability to be able to track that within whatever platform that you're utilizing for the quant. The many solutions now allow for both qual and quant within one platform, so that is a cohesive process. And by qual, it could be a group, or it could be inviting people into a community for a longer term exploration. So think about your overall research objectives, think about the scope of the agenda that you're trying to achieve, and work with a partner who either allows you to deliver the best optimal experience for each individual phase, or potentially across the entire spectrum of the research agenda. And of course, the omni-channel capabilities is important. Today, that is mostly ensuring that it's optimized for a mobile or a tablet experience, as well as for traditional PC. We are quickly emerging into a world, though, where that could also be optimized for something like a wearable or for even the metaverse. So we're not too far off from being able to really need to seriously consider that because those are the form factors of the technology that the consumer itself that they're utilizing. Analysis and reporting. It used to be back in the day that you would collect the data, you'd export it in something like text format, and then you would import it into a platform like SPSS, and you would do your analysis in SPSS. Often you would also import it into something like Wincross to create tables, and when all that's done, you would import it back into Excel, and then from there you would look at your tables in Excel, and then you would create uh, reports in PowerPoint. And this is a very convoluted step-by-step process. In most cases today, the platforms have very robust analytical capabilities built in that can make that a heck of a lot easier. But it may not address all of your analytical objectives. So keep that in mind. What are you trying to get to? Are you just looking for basic outputs of tables and charts? If so, are those editable in PowerPoint format, or do you want to deliver to a dashboard? Are you looking to generate reports out of the gate? Do you have flexibility in the types of ways that you visualize data? Again, think about if you're doing something in Excel, that you have lots of different charts types that you can use. How are you going to distribute it? Do you want to distribute it via a link, or is it an attachment? Where is it going to wind up? Is it going to wind up feeding into a knowledge management platform or an AI system, or is it going to kind of traditionally sit within a library within a hard drive? All of those things are important to think about. Again, some platforms allow for very sophisticated analysis, conjoint, turf, et cetera, et cetera. So, think about the end, what the tools that you're going to utilize to deliver the insights to the key stakeholders, what those solutions analytically need to be, and help back into that as part of your selection criteria in finding the right partner. Synthetic data. So that is increasingly an option. And we're not going to dive super deep into that topic right now, but one option that is growing is if you have a low incidence or hard to engage sample size, is augmenting that with synthetic data. So maybe you would like to have a base of n equals 500 for analysis, but because it's a hard to reach population, cost, whatever the case may be, you may only collect data on 200 people, then augment that with synthetic data that fits the persona and the profiles of the population for the remaining 300. Can that be done in the platform itself, kind of like sample integration? Do you have the ability to integrate with a synthetic data provider within the platform, or does it happen outside of the platform? So, think about that. That is a growing and very viable and high quality solution in many cases. So that's going to become a bigger deal over and over as we progress from here. There's our legitimate questions on, is the simulated data better than real world data? I would argue that it depends upon the business issue. If you're looking for breakthrough insights and innovation, then I personally think that it's important to continue to engage with humans. But if you're doing, let's say, market sizing, if you're doing an ad test, if you're doing things that are a little more tactical, then certainly the evidence seems to indicate that synthetic data can give you, really good quality information to build off of. So those are viable considerations. Think about what that end result looks like for you. Integrations, lots of platforms now allow for integration of things like Salesforce or within your marketing automation, external collaboration tools, your analytical framework within the organization. Think about how easy it is to do that. Is it an API? So it's just a press of a button that you just create a link, or is it something that you have to manually do? That increases the use of the data itself. So those are certainly considerations that can be key, especially in a large enterprise. Do they charge for that, or is it something that is built in? Many platforms will do custom API integrations. So make sure you're asking those questions so you're not caught flat-footed with wondering how to get from point A to point B and dealing with some potential budget and time issues that impact your need to get that integration done. So other things that you want to think about, this is going to be much more tailored to you and your organization: usability, data integration. Can you utilize past studies and look at things in combination? If so, is the data privacy and IP security there? Do you need a lot of support? I personally like to be able to talk to a human versus going to an FAQ. So if you're like me, then that's going to be an important consideration. And is that ability to reach a human going to be there at 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm working on a deadline, or are they only going to be there 9 to 5? There's lots of different cost structures, pay as you go versus subscriptions. Some of those include panel costs, often they do not. Are they charging per survey? Are you looking at seats, the number of users, projects? Are there trial accounts? Lots of different scenarios in all of that, so you can look through and think about the right solution. And then, finally, just everything we do today, it's going to be different tomorrow, literally, because technology is allowing us to do that. We are in a world where we're only going to see improvements to data quality. We're going to see further reductions of time and cost. There's going to be a widening palette of analytical tools. We're going to be able to look at things more holistically and comprehensively across the customer journey. And we're going to look at platforms that fit within a stack versus being standalone. So everybody that you're going to see today is somewhere on that journey, and there's going to be more that emerge. So hope that you enjoy this session, and hopefully that helps you in kind of thinking through the key considerations in selecting a partner. That's it for this, for me for this one. Take care.